My name is Philip Quick, the owner of the defending champion Hamtramck Librarians, and I'm here with another edition of the award-winning Wednesdays with Wally, the only intelligent sports, news, talk, show, and analysis on this, your Loafers Champion League's Fantasy Football Armed Forces Radio Network. Wally couldn't be here tonight with us because he is back in Ann Arbor licking his wounds after that devastating University of Michigan loss to Iowa last week, combined with Uncle Wally's Fatty Foreskin's loss to Where's Tirico over the weekend as well. It's like, who loses Tirico? Who does that to Where's Tirico? I mean, come on. And I hate to say this to you, Wally, but it's going to get even worse for you this weekend when I kick your sorry ass. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. I was listening to the podcast a few minutes ago, and I thought I was listening to a rerun. Actually, I thought I was listening to one of those movies that go right from production right into DVD and sort of bypass the whole theater phase. It's Week 10's podcast, and he puts it out on Tuesdays of Week 11. Way to go, Commish. You've really upped your game this year, I have to tell you. Working with the chairman of the board, and I do mean board, has really helped you, and that's very impressive. And a little advice for all of you in the listening audience: don't bother with it. It's not very interesting. Speaking of the podcast, though, I was interested in it because we experienced here at Wednesdays with Wally, we experienced a little bit of trouble of our own, similar to the Commish story. We have been off the air for 2 weeks, in part because we had, 2 weeks ago we had an attempted break in here. Somebody tried to kick in the back door of the studio here at Wednesdays with Wally. Before anybody could get inside, he or she was scared off by the feral kittens in the yard. So there was no entry gained. But then last week, somebody did gain entry, and it was sort of weird. It was like that episode of The Next Generation when the Federation first encounters the Borg, and the Borg just sort of stands there and looks at the equipment. For all we know, people were just looking. I mean, they tussled some things, flipped a few switches, but we're basically just looking at the equipment. So who knows? Maybe they couldn't understand it or whatever. This event, I mean, obviously concerns us because it was on our property here, Wednesdays with Wally, but I think it really speaks to the poor condition that this league has fallen into, this sort of disrepair and ill repute that this league has fallen into over the last several years. And I think it is largely because of piss poor leadership on the part of the commissioner, and really the quality of the owners that he has brought in the last couple of years. The commission has been just plagued by accusations this year. That whole waiver wire scandal. He's getting teams to take the football equivalent of a dive by trading off good players to him for shit. I hear that's under investigation by the authorities. The whole male prostitution ring. So anyway, I mean, so he set a really bad example, and so you have the likes of, I don't know if Justin is making these wild wagers because he lost some tax client's money, or if Tristan needs to buy more hair gel or what. But this league's out of control, and I think it has contributed to sort of the shady atmosphere. And who knows who's doing these what appear to be break-ins, two reported. But I hope, or quite honestly, could be political repression, at least as far as librarians are going. Librarians are concerned. There's a lot of nuts in this league. The librarians speak the truth. We point out that the emperor has no clothes, and so somebody might be after us for that reason. But my point is that overall the quality of this league has gone down, and that I think is directly due to the poor administration by Steve and whatever the other guy's name. But let's turn back to football, because you don't want to hear about that. The Librarians killed the Cosmos last week. Baby Dave, not surprising. Dave is, a mediocre team. He's a 500 team, which is right where he's at. But that doesn't really tell the whole story. What's even more impressive was the number of points scored by the Librarians starters and bench, 237 points. So that's the new threshold. This is where the Librarians stand now. We can now produce 237 points a week. Number one ranked quarterback, quite arguably, number 1 and 2 ranked running backs, a slew of talented wide receivers. And that means that all we have to do is score 70% of those points, and we're looking at 165 points. That means, gentlemen, you have to start putting together teams that can score 170 points to beat the Librarians. And I know some of you aren't good with numbers, so let me put it in a different way. 4 Librarians, Mariota, Bell, Murray, and the Washington defense outscored the Fatty Foreskins and the Jason Bullshit team, and take away the Washington defense, and we still defeated the Tax Audit Mafia. So those are the real numbers. The threshold is almost unreachable for any team to beat the Librarians at this point. And speaking of the Tax Audit Mafia, though, I did want to give credit where credit is due, and compliment the commish on he nailed it, picking the Whiskey Dick this week. It's probably not the first time he nailed Justin, but we don't want to talk about those. But anyway, congratulations to the commish. The playoff picture is rounding out. Librarians are in a strong position to repeat as champions again this year. The Orange Division is falling by the wayside, as we knew it would. Librarians defeated the Flying Dickheads, the Vanna Honeys. Colt 45, as the commission said, where the hell's Brian Taylor? He's out to lunch or something. Where's Trico? Nobody takes Where's Trico seriously. And, Justin. Yeah. The Blue Division, the Librarians have already kicked the Cosmos ass, already kicked the Commish's ass in week 4. Talk a little bit more about that later. Pigskin's up this week. Jason Bull's team mired in the cell. Jason's probably not a bad guy. I mean, his team is mired in the cell. He's probably not a really bad guy. I don't think he's an ass or anything. But he's hanging out with the wrong crowd, and he's going to go down. And I think he's spending way too much time trying to be witty on the chat board, which is really out of his reach. He's a novice, and it makes him look bad. And it's not doing his team any well. He's bringing up the rear, and by rear I mean ass. So Jason, I think you can redeem yourself, but it's not by the company to keep. So this week the Librarians take on the Fatty Foreskins. You gotta love Uncle Wally. He's still playing out Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb. Plus a whole slew of 49ers. Last week he lost to Where's Trico? Who the hell does that, right? So that's a sure win for Librarians. There's one other game I wanted to mention, which is anybody who is playing the Commish's Reason to Live. I don't even know who's playing it, but the Commish's team deserves to lose just because they're starting Todd Gurley. So, speaking of the Commish, I am going to kick your ass next week. Looking past week 11 and week 12 to the rivalry week. It's really the only game there is this year, and it's really the only game that anybody cares about, the Librarians versus Reason to Live. It's for the number one team in the Blue Division, sure playoff team. I have to admit, you've built your team up a little bit since we last played in week 4. You loaded your schedule with cupcakes, which is good. You can do that as commissioner, and that's why you're a game ahead of me. And then you pulled off these trades with Justin and Jason. They both bent over for you, and you pulled something out of their asses. But we'll talk more about this, I'm sure. But you'll have your ass kicked in week 12. The Librarians are running strong, and I can just get you have to go home crying again, like you do every year when you lose. But anyway. That's all for tonight. See you guys on the gridiron.